No, you're not. Just be here in the next few minutes.
The transfer came said that, no, she's about to get changed in the classroom. So, is she misbehaving? She goes, I guess she has a service part. And she's trying to help patients in and out of bed, stuff, and she goes in. It's a liability. She's like, so we gotta move her to be roommates with someone who doesn't need some change. Yeah.
Employee wise, and I'm like she started, didn't go having church, so she got cut up and running.
You get hold of yeah, I'll make sure I email. I've got all about it this last week. I'll make sure we won't discuss I'll bring up our meeting a little bit. I got your stuff. Good. How about you? That's what you want.
That's this one, so I don't get
You ignore him. I'll be the witness. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Y'all ready?
Yes.
I call this January 26, 2026, Helena City Council work session to order. First item on our work session agenda is review of all 2026 agenda items, starting with AP and bill payments. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Yes.
Any questions or comments on those?
Yes. I know.
None?
No, sir.
Okay. And next is the meeting minutes, the minutes review of our January 12th, 2026 work session, city council meetings. Everybody had a chance to take a look at those?
Yes.
Any revisions from those?
Just a small one.
Sure.
At the end of my comments, Madison, basically, I wanted to acknowledge the president for just being a person of his word and integrity. This is just thanking him for all that he's done. You can include that, but that was it.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that. Any other corrections or revisions? Seeing none, move on to updates from council boards and committee business. Anybody?
Real fast, we had a meeting, the one Helena, last week, and we started discussing the upcoming event on April the 20th. The day, weekend after your event. 16th or something like that. Okay. April the 11th, sorry. The one Helena event that will be at the park. They're working on getting vendors and raising money and stuff like that. We did discuss some budgetary concerns, and so we're working on that. Ms. Dominguez is working on that with the board. And so we're just kind of moving forward to get more people involved. We updated the ordinance for the number of members they could have, and so we're making that a little bit more lively. I gave her a lot of contacts for Turkish food and Greek food and a lot of these things to bring different cultures into the park. Beautiful. So we'll work on that, get more later as we go.
And what date will that be again?
April the 11th. Yes, April the 11th.
Okay. All right. I was absent from last week's planning and zoning meeting due to family travel. But I know that I think they just had a preliminary plat plan approval on next phase, the next sector in Hillsborough. I don't have any library board updates at this time. Any other board or committee updates? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item on our agenda, and that will be the discussion of the Civil Service Act, which Attorney Hayes has been working on and Mayor Rosner have been working on. We've been reviewing the document as it's been prepared. Who wants to take that discussion, Mayor?
Yeah, I'll be happy to start. Concede to Attorney Hayes if I need to. So once we got the copy of the CSA back from HRM, we distributed it to both you all as well as to department heads to get feedback from department heads. Attorney Hayes and I met with the department heads, got good feedback. Then it was sent at Representative Halsey's request to LSA in Montgomery for them to put it in the proper formatting that the legislatures like to see. We had some revisions with LSA back and forth. I believe it was distributed to y'all middle to end of last week for y'all to review. Just in terms of the timeline that we're dealing with, and again, I hate to make anybody feel rushed in any way, shape, or form, but we are on Representative Halsey's timeframe for this legislative session. And it needs to, in order for us to have a chance of getting it through Montgomery this year, we need to be able to go to print with that this week. It's a little frustrating because we're having to run it 4 weeks, as it was advised to me by both council here, Hayes, as well as LSA and Representative Halsey's request for it to run the entire 21 pages or so of language. I was shocked when I got the quotes for both the Western Star and the Shelby County Reporter. Is going to run somewhere around $33,000 for both, and that's with heavy discounts from each. What is most frustrating about this situation is if Shelby County did not have a newspaper in print, I could go tape it on doors around town for free and not have to publish it. But we are bound by the legislature to run it in a print media. So that's kind of where we're at. The first deadline for print is tomorrow to go to the Western Star. They run on Thursdays, I believe, is their publication day. I think that's, or is it Friday? Okay, and then Shelby County Reporter has to have it by Thursday in order to make their printed. Allocate me till noon on Thursday. for it to run on Sunday. So unless there is an objection from anyone at this table, I would like to move forward with putting it into print with the Shelby County Reporter, Western Star tomorrow. I firmly believe that this is going to shore up a lot of, not loopholes, but inconsistencies that have caused us prior litigation, and give both the employees and leadership firm a firm foundation to move forward, one that has not been, I don't think that the city's had in a while. The handbook, because that's the piggyback of this, the whole key of the Civil Service Act is to be able to get to a handbook. The handbook is in its final edit stages. When do you think we will be able to have that? Later this week, we'll have that to both council and department heads for review, initial review. Any questions, comments? Well, first of all, Attorney Hayes, do you have anything to add? Okay.
So
Yes,
when
sir.
would it go to legislate? When would it go?
So it's got to run for 4 weeks.
So you're on the 25th of February.
Correct. Then it'll get to Lee towards the end of February. I'll be honest with you, she and LSA walked me through what it takes in the days, but they're legislative days, maybe 2 days 1 week, 3 days the next week. They mapped it out. I listened. They both were comfortable. I'll have to get one of them to speak to the time frame once it's in Montgomery. I really don't know.
What do you need from us?
Just if there's an objection to us running it, there will be a resolution at the next meeting that we will formally accept and put into to allow it to go through the legislature. Right now, we're not making a decision. You're not formally opining or advancing it to the legislature. All we're doing in this is just if there's an objection to it taking the first step and running it in the media, that's all I'm asking for today.
I'm not necessarily opposed to the bill. I have maybe one question, one concern. One question is, as it relates to our police and fire unions, did we get any feedback from them?
So there is not a per se police union that any of our officers are a member of. I did not get a opinion from the fire union. I did get an opinion from the fire chief. And I know that he reviewed that thoroughly. So no, I did not get an opinion from the union.
Okay. So my concern is the price tag.
Yes, sir.
And I know you don't set that. So it has less to do with you trying to put this good faith effort to the timeline. But well, I can't assume, but the legislature has expressed some sensitivity, in my opinion, to this, because in the last, I think, 2-3 years, they passed a bill that impacted probate courts, because probate judges were saying that basically similar publications affected them of this nature. And to have a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 tab was just beyond what their budget could hold, especially in small counties like us being a relatively small city. I wish there was some way around it, and so I kind of started digging. My belief is, that we can include the substantive pieces, or for lack of a better word, a synopsis, and not publish all 31 pages. Respectfully, I know that you talked with LSA. You made that clear in your statement. But we don't necessarily have $35,000 to commit to a publication without something else going without. So not necessarily my objection, but if we could find a way to possibly reduce the 31 pages to only capturing the substantive pieces and publishing that, it would help us realize the savings and maybe be less costly. If less costly is $20, that's not what I'm saying.
I understand.
Less costly is $10,000. That's $10,000 we've saved because we've looked and only extracted the substantive pieces of the bill. If that's not possible, given the time crunch, I understand it, but I at least want to share my concern relative to the price tag.
I understand, and I share the concern. Unfortunately, with the timing that we're faced with, and the advice that we've received thus far, in order for us to do what you're asking to do, would have been a completely different approach to this civil service agreement, where it was more of an amendment. That at this point in this juncture is not really an option at this point. While I would much rather spend that $35,000 somewhere else, but if we were able to say we're talking about $25,000, we could do that by tomorrow and meet our deadline, I'd be all for that. I don't believe we can. And I believe shoring this up to make sure that this is bulletproof going forward and protecting our employees and the city from possible litigation, if it's $25,000, that ensures that foundation for the next 25 years. I think that it's, while not that appetizing, I feel like we are in a position where we don't really have much of a choice. And unfortunately, a lot of the decisions that we were being faced with over our first 3 months and probably will continue to be faced with for the next foreseeable future, our hands may be forced in some ways, like it is right now, to get it in.
Did you intend to imply that you knew of a way, or that you wanted them to see it?
So I'm gonna speak just from my personal experience and apply it to this situation. In my workspace, I've advertised with Alabama Messenger, and it's been a synopsis. That synopsis, in the example that I'm giving you, took out, I think, 7 lines of the bill that was about 8 pages. And that cost was maybe like $175. Madison and others probably know this, or the clerk, I don't need to be calling by first name. Madam Clerk knows that, but I think you get a base rate for so many lines, and then thereafter it starts to add up. So as a way to keep costs down, that's what I've done. And of course, I don't work in the clerk's office. The clerk does it as well, and he does it for the entire year. So I believe a synopsis, where again, I'm using that term, it's less than the full act itself, but it allows you to capture the substantive pieces of the piece of legislation. You know, and bills vary from 2 pages to hundreds of pages. So again, based on the time, that may not be an option in this example. But I couldn't go without expressing, if we had a last ditch opportunity to lessen our costs, we would try it.
Noon.
Because I know you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Fine.
You're not going to offend me by calling me that. I believe we have to have the Western Star by noon tomorrow. And the other concern too is, I'm talking to LSA and Council, Hayes can chirp in on this, but what you're discussing and what was explained to me from LSA with those bills that would have substantial changes as they go through the legislative process. This bill, this local legislation will not. So it's going to go through, we expect them to have 0 changes. They want to carry this all the way through with no edits, amendments. Therefore, it's a little bit of a different color than a traditional bill that would go through the potentially could have revisions. Hey, is that
Well, no, there's a slight tweak, and I'm not meaning to cut you off.
okay?
When I speak of substance, I'm talking about the meat of the intent of the bill.
Correct.
So as it relates to the meat, I think what Attorney Hayes is attempting to do is to maybe sidestep leaving out one substantive sentence that may lead to litigation in the future. But substance for 31 pages is going to require some work.
Mhm.
So for example, page 1 of the bill, I think I have it. Just to make the point. Page 1 essentially doesn't have anything substantive because it's the title page.
Right.
The last page of the bill doesn't, but that doesn't necessarily save us a tremendous amount
Right.
of money. But when you go into the body of the pages that remain, extracting what is substantive is the concern of those affected by it, which could lead to litigation. So that's the tweak there, trying to get to what parts of this bill could be extracted without causing harm or raise a legal concern for
Gotcha.
employees who are affected by it.
Understood.
So, and I didn't mean to speak for you, but
No, so what else, you know, how do you determine what's substantive, what's not? I mean, this is a scrap of something that's 35 years old.
Right.
Archaic, and this is something totally new, so
Right.
that may apply to one department or something, be substantive, then may not be substantive to another.
Correct.
So, you know, the safest option is to put it all out there, you know. And we did work with LSA some, if you notice, between the first draft and what you ultimately got, the section headings and the spaces are in there, they're gone. Like anything we could do to shorten the line numbers and stuff, we did do to hopefully drive down some of the costs. I think we negotiated the pricing down further from
I
that. And, you know, I like synopsises, but I also like to be safe too. This is probably, you know, I'm going with the safest route for the city to go for. And, you know, if it is, I just don't know what the actual savings will be. And, you know, I'm not going to butcher savings, you know.
I think
Being
we're,
foolish or whatever.
yeah,
It's like-
but I think where we're
But,
at
no,
is the
you're right.
exercise to even go through that process would not be able to be completed by noon tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the question is if, and I will go forward in the council's direction, but either we take a different approach to this and plan on this being a 27, section 27, then we can do that. Or we need to print as is, eat the cost, and move forward.
That's the big thing we're up against. If we don't get that Jefferson County Western Star publication tomorrow, we pretty much missed this legislative
Yeah.
session.
The risk of it not going through this year is far greater. I'm not going to say it's impossible. Things happen, but it's not nearly as likely as if we're able to move forward.
So if we don't get this done, Mr. Mayor, then that's going to push back the handbook as well?
Well, we can't, yes, the handbook cannot be used and relied upon until the CSA directs us to the handbook. So, yeah, they're
Just
one,
wanted to
yeah,
confirm that.
but the handbook does not have to go through
No, I
legislation.
understand.
Okay, just clearing that up.
We got to have A to have B.
Right.
Current civil service.
I figured I just kind of wanted to.
Yeah, no, that's the way everybody's on the same page.
And we put a hard date in there, you'll notice in the last draft, after talking with our state rep, and talking with LSA, we put a hard date in there, so everybody in the city knows that June 1st.
Yes,
So if it gets passed in March or April, but that gives you all time to get through and go visit the department heads, it's time for meetings with employees, so, you know, and us to get the forms and everything else in place for signatures and everything else that needs to happen. And everybody, you know, from payroll to fire, department, everybody knows, okay, this is the date this goes into effect. So we thought he'd get a date, and that was, we thought a safe date, in talking with them down there.
Mayor, just because sometimes I get clouded by listening to myself. The handbook, in part, is predicated on the revisions to this particular act. However, a handbook could be adopted based on the existing Civil Service Act. It's just antiquated.
I don't believe it can be adopted because, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Hayes, it's my understanding that the civil service agreement has to point to a handbook as being a document of record for employee matters, HR matters, vacation, any policies. With the current CSA not having any mention of a handbook, we could not adopt a handbook and have it have any legal standing because the CSA does not reference it, is my understanding. Is that accurate?
It's pretty much right. I mean, there's a neighboring municipality that I think Helena's, the Act 91 or 92, that we're still under. theirs went into effect at the same time ours did, from our senator from Shelby County. Ours is maintained as something like 25, 27 pages. Theirs grew to 104. And every time they had to go through the legislature and get it updated, and then they wanted to move their handbook, so they had to scrap theirs. And this is where some of the issues came in with them is that any changes considered substantive when it comes to these things. They had to kick theirs back an extra year or two because they missed the deadline and they had a couple little changes. So, I think theirs is actually a lot more just points towards that handbook. Ours kind of takes after some other municipalities, and we wanted to enumerate protections and rights in there. After speaking with all of y'all on it, so that's why ours is a little bit longer and not a little bit shorter. But we also want to point towards the handbook to allow our departments and allow the city to keep up with pay, vacation, stuff like that. And that allows the council to control a lot of the day-to-day stuff without having to wait for a legislative session to go through that whole process.
I think it'll be a huge advantage to have a CSA that has a corresponding handbook, right, for, it'll benefit the institution, the city, and the departments and their personnel. I think the sooner we can get to that, the better. I think this is, it is it's a tough call on the expense of publication, but I think it's going to bring us way forward.
I agree.
And Mr. Mayor, just educate me and council. If we do the 33,000, 35,000, we get it in publication for 30 days, is there a risk that it would make this legislative session?
It's not zero.
Okay.
But
But
the one thing I've learned is that nothing is
Right.
100%
right.
with the legislative session, and from what I understand, especially in an election year. But I do feel confident that we stand a much better chance than not of getting it through, but it is not 100%. Should we take it to publication, I'm planning on going down and meeting with our legislative body from
Okay.
Shelby County as soon as it comes out of print, and meeting with them to let them know how important this is to the city and to our employees. So I'll be spending a day in Montgomery advocating on behalf of the city and employees.
Do you need any of us to attend with you? Or
Possibly.
our members?
Possibly, we'll see when we go there. Yeah, I will definitely rope y'all in as needed.
As a last minute perspective, I know you're about to jump into the budget. When you get to the legal side of things, some of that number in there came from issues with the other Civil Service Act, the old one.
Yeah.
So if you want to compare this cost versus what it took, legal costs or something like that, or in a settlement, like, they may,
What's the cost
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the cost now?
So we have 33,000 over how many years? 25,
Right.
right?
But it's just, it's the initial nut. Yeah.
I know, it's just-
So,
I know.
any other comments on?
We can't run it just in the classifieds as a $25 yard sale.
I wish. Well, if there is no objection, then
I
I'm
got
gonna
one
move
question.
forward.
I think it falls within this. I just got a text
Okay.
and it says, as the firefighter union president had a sit down with the mayor and expressed concerns with how the bill would affect the future, and would question an employee action committee, we would like to be part of these talks. Ask the mayor if he has sit down with us, please.
Yes, I met with the president. He brought up the idea of having an employee action committee that can come to council and the mayor. I brought that up to Attorney Hayes, and we're running that by HRM to try to implement something like that. And I'll be happy to sit down with Trent whenever he would like to.
Okay.
And that's where your handbook comes in.
Yeah.
That's where your handbook can come in.
And that employee action committee would be part of the handbook if we were to put it in place, or able to put it in place, not the Civil Service Act.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. We will get that in the paper tomorrow.
Any further questions or comments on the Civil Service Act?
That was a big pill, but we have to take it.
Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is another big item, discussion of the FY 2026 municipal budget. And I'll let Mayor Roser start that one as well.
All right, well, as I'm pulling this back up, I thought I was on the computer or on the screen behind me, but I'll need to reconnect. The first thing that I'll start with, thank you all for your patience. I definitely underestimated the difficulty it was going to be to pull this together. But I believe that what we have got is far better than what we have had in the past. I want to commend prior council, for pushing this to us. There was a lot of information gathering that was integral in me getting an understanding by forcing my hand to go through this. That's a big benefit that came out of it. The other thing too was it was a fresh scrub, and we were able to find substantial savings, I believe, in a lot of areas. Biggest one, like Council Hayes said, was the legal expenses. The second item that I also want to thank prior council for is passing the 1 cent bond sales tax. Had that not passed, this conversation would be much, much different. So if it's okay with y'all, what I'd like to do is just give a 1,000-foot, 2,000-foot view on the summary page, answer any questions y'all may have on that, and then we can move through each of the departments and field your questions as they come. From the revenue side, the 25 actual, I was given the benefit of being able to, for the most part, reconcile to what the auditors have as our actual final revenue figures. So that gives us a really good starting point. You will note, and I've said to all y'all, but I'll say to the community, the budget that was done in the past, there were years where the line item didn't change. No matter what the year-to-date spend was, there were, on the revenue side, there were line items that didn't have a budget because they grouped them all into one line item for all the sub-accounts. It's very hard to make heads or tails from that budget. So I based this budget entirely on prior year actual and year-to-date trend from 24 to 25. I kept revenue relatively flat. You'll see a 5% increase across the board in total. Sales tax was at 5%. We're currently in the first 3 months of the year running at around a 7% increase in sales tax. Still too early to tell whether or not that's going to be sustainable, so I backed it down to 5, but we'll be able to monitor that going forward on a monthly basis and make adjustments as necessary. Property tax, I put only a 3% increase in property tax. I talked with the auditor. They believe this to be reasonable also. That's the other caveat, is I did sit down with the auditors last week and go over this in detail to make sure there was no large items, nothing that I was not aware of that was not being included. Pretty much, if you see an increase in revenue, I took the change from 24 to 25 and cut it either in half or more than in half to make sure that we're being conservative. Again, we'll be able to monitor this monthly. Moving on to operating expenses, you can see the largest savings was in admin. The majority of that was in legal. We had about 1.1 million in legal fees. That's including attorney costs as well as settlements. We got that down to 450. I think that's reasonable. Hopefully we can even come in under 450. The rest of the departments stayed relatively flat. I will say that every single department head that I met me with a great attitude, and they sharpened their pencil. They all have taken cuts with both personnel, with promotions, and put those on the side of the table for right now, moving forward. Fire does show an increase. We'll let you know that, just make sure everybody's aware. Our fire department experiences additional costs more directly correlated with the amount of calls than any other than our police department, because there's medical expenses, medical equipment that is necessary to be replenished. They're also one of the only departments that brings in revenue through the transports. Their transport revenue is included in the general fund. However, we do try to only utilize those funds to help fund some of the costs that are going on in the fire department. The projected increase on the fire department revenue on the transport is they're going to come in a little under, I think we had it at like 385, up from about 325, 330. You'll see our operating expenses are coming in at about 92% of budget, 91.5% of the budget. This is not at all where I want to be. I do not want to budget operating expenses above 90% at all. However, in running this by the auditors, they were not surprised by this, that we were needing to do that this year. The game plan is that if we can run tight and us all as a new body understand the ebbs and flows of this budget, if we're able to stick to this budget, make adjustments as we go on, revenue should continue to increase. Hopefully next year we can add a little bit of the positions that we need and still pick up the revenue and back down to maybe 89, 90% of total revenue that we're budgeting towards operating expenses. This isn't a one-year fix. This will be over several years of our administration that we begin to budget and get back below the 90% for operating expenses. Once you pull in debt service, one other thing for the community and for council who's reviewed other budgets, the use tax that's associated with the 1 cent education tax was always kept in its own fund. It was thought of as the 1 cent sales and the use tax, and they were all used for the most part for education funding. The use tax is not restricted. We can use the use tax for everything, and that's why the auditors include the use tax in the general fund, as did I. So those debt service items that can be paid out of that use tax are included in the bottom column or under debt service. So we'll be paying $636,000 out of the projected revenues for use tax. If you look over at this next column, I've got the education fund. We're projecting, again, a 5% increase on that, which goes along with our sales tax increase across the board. Under operating expenses, which you'll see here, the 383 and the 400,000, those are SRO expenses that will be funded out of that 1 cent sales tax for education. And then, of course, the bond payments that are for the schools also come out of that, as does the TAG grant and school donations of $230,000. The $1.5 million that we're projecting and change, we've got 1.4 and change in budgeted expenses for that 1 cent, which is leaving us with $146,000 surplus in that fund. The 1 cent sales tax, I worked with our revenue officer. We both believe that 1.5 million is reasonable to be expected. That is being used again for the debt service for the new bonds. Total overall surplus is 1.6 million. Again, this is a little bit of savings that we're having in revenues over operating expenses and debt service, as well as a little bit from the 1 cent sales tax for education. Total budgeted expenses out of the general fund with debt service is coming in at 95%, right here. So that is the summary at a 1,000-foot view. A couple of things to note too before we move on, or I take any questions on this sheet. There are other funding sources that we have, and I will be getting those to you guys. I was abrupt on time putting this all together. We have got approximately $850,000 in our Rebuild Alabama fund that has been building up. We've got impact fees in both Parks and Rec and in our Public Works Department that can be utilized for, Parks and Rec can be utilized for repairs in the parks to ease some of that burden on the revenue or on the Parks and Rec expense general fund. The Rebuild Alabama will also be used to pay the $75,000 that we owe for the 261 widening. And we also are going to owe $275,000 towards the end of, or this completion of the turn lane on 17 and 58. Those costs, again, will come out of Rebuild, but we do have those kind of in our back pocket that if we need to utilize some of those to bridge a gap, if we get into tight times, those funds are there. I expect going forward, hopefully starting next month, to be able to present to you, once the budget's passed, a budget to actual year-to-date to budget, as well as I will put together a sheet with all of the checking account balances and the description of what those balances are in the financial packet going forward so that everybody's on the same page. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything in my notes. One thing I'll throw out there before we get into the actual departments is in meeting with the department heads and talking through them, I'll use our public works department as one example. I used this morning in the department head meeting. Our department heads weren't privy to where they were at against budget prior to this administration. They are also, their input wasn't really taken into account a whole lot in the budgetary process. So when I sat down with Jason to go over his budget, we were looking at one invoice for his oxygen and acetaminophen or something for the torches. Thank you, Dennis. And he had never looked at the invoice. And by looking at the invoice, what he was expecting his run rate to be and where it was coming up, that invoice was a lot larger. And by him reviewing his expenses and looking at that invoice, we were able to renegotiate all of those expenses and save money on that. Also, we've made the election to move some of the public works oil changes in-house, so we won't be spending the money going outsourcing that to oil change place. Probably going to save about 50% in that department on oil changes. I'd like to continue to think like that, see what else we can do in-house to save some money on the vehicle maintenance. So just some high-level items. I do think there'll be additional savings as I dig in and to the details when things come up, when I'm able to meet with the department heads. I'm still getting my arms around everything. So any questions on this sheet, on the summary? Thoughts, concerns?
What's the reduction in the library? Just out of curiosity, I know it's 20,000.
20,000. I asked Dan if he could if he could potentially reduce the amount of new books that we got this year. And he was able to sharpen his pencil there as well as on a few other lines. It was $1,000 here, $500 here.
Is the police missing out on anything? That 17,000?
So the police and fire both have pulled any new hires off the board. At this time also, the promotions have been paused in the fire department. Everyone is making sacrifices to get this budget to where it's at. I would hope in March to reevaluate. I don't hope. We will reevaluate. If revenues are projecting higher than what I thought, if we are seeing a reduction in some of the line items and expenses that we're not going to be anywhere near our budget, if we're able to find additional savings between now and then, we'll reevaluate all those. And if we can do a budget amendment, we'll assess at that time.
One last question. The public works, that's a huge cut on public works there.
The cut, we can go to that.
Okay, no,
sheet.
sorry, I'm sorry. I forgot
No,
to go to
no.
each line. I apologize.
A lot of the departments went through, and it wasn't one specific area.
Right.
I mean, when they sharpened their pencil, it was like, okay, we can do without this. Whether it be repairs that they had in 25 that they don't expect to have in 24. One of the departments, they had fleet expense of $90,000. That may have been Parks and Rec. Don't hold me to that. That they're not going to be buying any any trucks this year. So it's not any one item. It's really all the departments put pencil to paper across the board. And if they could save $500 here, they did. If they could save $1,000 here, they did.
Mayor, what category do we use for our franchise agreements? In terms of
Franchise fees?
Yeah.
Those are under, interesting. Let's see here. We can go here. I think they're under licenses and permits.
By chance, and you may not have this readily available, but do we have any franchise agreements that have expired that you are aware of or that may be coming up in the near future?
So I have not been my question to our revenue officer was, can we expect these to stay relatively flat? And the answer to that question was yes. She did not make me aware. I did not specifically ask her, though, if any were expiring. So that's a question that I can note, and I can ask that question.
Mayor, I know I'm not allowed to talk, but the police department, fire department, the promotions, do we know how many people that may impact? And you know, I know we can't speculate on retention, but is that a concern from our chiefs?
Both chiefs were on board with this plan. My feedback from them is that everyone is on board and is willing to pull up their bootstraps, and they understand that this is temporary, that these are things that we have to do to be able to get the city financially sound. Just like in my campaign when I spoke to you, until we shore up the hub with our finances, none of our spokes can be as strong as they need to be. Okay. Is everybody safe to move on to the first department? Admin.
Sure.
I don't know how much you guys spent looking at the budget, and I do apologize that I didn't get it to you until yesterday. The majority of this savings is coming from our legal, without a doubt. I'll let you guys review. There's, other than the reduction in legal, there's not a whole lot that I can speak to. I mean, we got 612,000 there, though, in legal expense. The one thing I will address just right out of the gate, because I know it's going to get attention, that I will come back to you all with, is hot board. The way that we account for hot board is complicated because the contributions that we get in don't offset the expenses. So the 334 you're seeing there was not realistic. It was not a legitimate cost. There's contributions that have come in. The other thing that has happened in every year prior was when we book talent, it's been paid out of, so for instance, we already bought our talent for this season out of the 25 budget. I will put together a reconciliation for you all in the coming weeks showing that hot board came in at or slightly above or below the $100,000 mark. And I will distribute that to you all, and I'll also make it public to the community. Going forward, when we go through this budget, sharpening our pencil, I will not hide the fact I served on hot board for 5 years. I said in my campaign I was extremely proud of what we did. There was no way to cut the $100,000 because it had already been spent on the talent in prior year, last summer. Those contracts are solid. No way to recoup that. If we said we didn't want an artist to come, they'd keep our money. Going forward for fiscal year 27, I've already been speaking with Hot Board about what can we do to reduce that spend. I know that there's been concern, and there's been a contingent in the community, and there may be a contingent on this council that wants Hot Board to be 100% self-funding. I may disagree with you on that. I don't believe that $100,000 may be right, and we're going to talk about the 27 budget just for a minute, but I do believe that it provides a great value to our community and a great spotlight on our city. And for that, I think that the city should have and needs to have a little bit of skin in the game. But that is a conversation for 27. But I just wanted to let you know that 334 that jumps out, that's not real. And I'll get you the reconciliation on that.
So it will reconcile that, about 100,000.
It will.
It has every year so far.
It has. I've already run the tapes. I just didn't have a chance to get it into a format that I could then present to you guys today.
The one thing I can add is that the 501 has engaged the services of a professional fundraiser to get us more sponsorship and more funds
Yes.
available. And the more that happens, the less the city has. to
100%.
run.
That's, and that's where I was coming from in my conversations with you on that is if we can, draw in more sponsors, capture more revenue from food trucks, vendors, whatever that
Yes.
may be, reduce our municipal contribution, our taxpayer contribution. That, I think it's a great it's a great quality of life amenity for our community.
Correct.
All the people it brings in. But I want us to, especially with the, as tight as we are everywhere else. I want us to
100%.
try to get on that.
Buckle down on that. I agree entirely. The one other thing to put out there is one position available that we're going to be hiring that has been approved. Excuse me. And that is in the administrative department. Our revenue officer will be retiring in May. It's a have to. It's not a want at this point. And that has been budgeted in this budget, as well as the cost of the software that we need for an accounting platform. Again, that's key to getting that foundation financially set in order to move the city forward. So both of those are in here also. Any questions as y'all review admin?
I see you got 4th of July. Where's 4th of July in here? Or is that under somewhere else?
4th of July.
Yeah.
874 other.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. And I did book that. And I think the quote actually came in at 15.3, and I didn't update that.
I just know that was always expense when I was on HR.
Yep. Thank you, Madison.
Wait, where's that?
It's the last one, 874 other
Yeah, 15.2.
on admin.
She said,
And I keep hating. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeff. You please.
If it requires, conversation at another time, but there were 3 things. One particular in admin, postage.
So the postage is the 116 postage for newsletter. Is that what you're referring to right here?
Yes.
So that 116 is the magazine. I've already spoken with Alec Etheridge at the magazine earlier, right at the beginning of my term. There are ways for us to trim that cost down by adjusting the binding down. The quality will not be the same, but we'll be able to get some cost savings on that. That's why I only budgeted $100,000. We are already, the 5th issue of this year has already gone to print for February. So realistically, I may only get those changes in for the last 5 months of the year. So that's why I had negotiated that. Hopefully I can get it a little less than 100, but that is a reduction also.
But the postage is separate from the agreement itself, correct?
The postage is included, I believe, in the agreement because we get billed directly from Shelby County Reporter for everything. And that's what that 116,548 was. It was a magazine and postage.
Production and mailing of the magazine.
So we don't have a separate contract with them for services. It's just the magazine.
Correct.
Help me understand like the cost share of janitorial services across departments.
Well, janitorial services, we really don't have any. There isn't a janitor. There's one. Yeah, that's
That's what it
supplies.
is.
Yeah.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, there's one gentleman employed in Parks and Rec that comes through on Fridays and wipes down the bathrooms and takes out the trash. But we do not employ a janitor.
And the reason why I was asking, because from 25 to 26, the move from here to the new building, it didn't seem to reflect a change in cost. Moving to the new building, which is more square footage. However, for example, and I'm just using the fire department, the fire department had a pretty sizable cost. But I would imagine, their costs may look different because I know they have a standard that they maintain.
Yeah.
So those are the general questions.
And the other thing too to keep in mind is we had two AP clerks this year. One of them we had for a short period of time, and then she was replaced. There may be inconsistencies throughout the departments on what is being coded where. All of that will be flushed out as I get a little bit more experience, my legs underneath me. So it could be the PO that the police department charges something to one line, the fire department charges a similar expense to a different line. I'm not saying that happens all the time or that's happening routine, but I can't speak to the fact that we have a strict classification of expenses. There is some overlap and some inconsistencies that need to be cleaned up. And a lot of that will help, this new accounting platform will help immensely getting that in.
Then the telephone lines, I assume there is a less of a reliance on the need for, every building, every department to have a landline. So are we looking at in the future reducing our costs for telephone lines?
So currently, we're under contract for the telephone lines with C-Spire, which we'll need to look at. There's been no actual discussion about removing landlines from the budget at this time.
Well, from the budget across departments, the cellular costs appear to be more affordable than the actual landline.
Well, the 300,000 for telephone, that is the entire, that's where the entire C-Spire bill is
Got
being
That's
parked.
phone.
I got
That's
it.
phone and
Okay.
internet also, all
Got
in
it. Okay.
there, because it's coming on one bill. Going forward, we'll start splitting that out into IT management services and,
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
appreciate
we're not spending 300,000 on landlines.
it. I got it.
Sorry, but I understand how you got there.
That was it. Just those three.
Billy, thanks for everything
Yeah,
you've
no
done.
problem.
So I just have two, so you can just clear my head here.
Okay.
The flock cameras,
Yes,
okay, that reduction there,
it's not a reduction. It moved to police.
okay, just.
Yep.
That. And then I noticed on the train detection system, we had mentioned you found the 300,000 at the last, now this is showing 100,000. That's just a standard.
Now, 100,000 is what we've got left.
Okay.
We're still committed to that.
So I spent 85,000 this year on the equipment, which I
Right.
mentioned to y'all last
Yes, sir.
time. And there's still some odds and end costs coming in that have already been expended. That actually may go up just a little bit from 100.
But that 85 is what
That 85 is in that 100.
Okay.
So yeah, that would have been an extra 350 on top of the 100,000.
I remember you mentioning that, glad that you found that.
Yeah.
That hell no.
Yeah.
I have questions about a couple reductions. I think I know what they are, but I just
Okay.
wanted to just make sure. 545 Christmas expense. I know Councilman McDaniels had asked about the tree, some expenses associated with the tree lighting. It looks like we were able to sharpen the pencil some on that. And I guess that's just budgeting less than what the actual was for this past
It
year.
is. I think we can save some money on potentially the PA system. I don't know if we need to bring in a professional PA for the turnout that we had. That event hasn't drawn like I'd hoped it would draw. And we can still put on a good event and maybe not go to the level that we've gone to in the past from the stage, band. A lot of the cost was involved in those. So that's where I trim my pencil on that.
Okay. And then on community service building expenses, I guess that was an HVAC repair that we had this past year. Or?
Service.
That's right.
Should have been 40-3, because I got stuff there.
Yeah, it was in a different, yeah.
That's why that got me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that got moved to another.
Yeah, and then the big reduction in R&M on the building from 111,402 to 3 was, well, they put a new roof on this building, was why it was so expensive last year. And also, we're moving into a new building, and we should have, hopefully, everything's under warranty, and we don't have any repairs and maintenance over there. Court's pretty cut and dry. Not a whole lot on this one. Went up slightly, 5%, but only $2,600. You guys are okay? Move on to fire department. You'll see a large increase on the capital outlay in the fire department. That's, Chris, you want to speak to?
Yeah, that's EKG monitors, payments on that, and several other small planned purchases that we have. But the setting, the majority of that's department. Not power load. Yeah, and then the power load stretcher for the new ambulances we had coming in. We've already got most of that actually paid. We should shoot well under. So, and then there's also the possibility of like equipment has been that some of this equipment don't show up until next budget year. You know, honestly, some of this that's going to be on this budget year should have showed up last budget year, and it just, the way equipment is, we just didn't get it at the time. So we'll most likely get billed for it this year instead of last year.
How many ambulances will we have?
Two, we're about to have a third one coming from Shelby County.
So we'll have a total of 3.
Yeah, we'll have a total of 3, and that'll be on the days that we have everybody here, which is rare. We'll have enough to have 2 people staffed on the 1 here at 1, and then 1 to 2 people on the 1 at 3, with 1 in reserve, which is what the state requires. But right now, the focus is just keeping at least 1 staff here. Like you saw about the cuts, we've dropped our minimum back down to 8, making sure that we've only got 1 part-timer on shift, or used to keep 2. So, I mean, we're gonna keep 1 running because we have no choice. Just the times.
I have just a question.
Yes, sir.
The firehouse sub grants will be, the grant application period opens up in April.
Yes.
Is that on y'all radar?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, we've got all the grants on our radar. I mean, we filled out for at least. Sure, you're talking about the firehouse.
All right.
Extrication rules, the new ladder truck coming in, so we're just waiting on
okay, appreciate that.
But yeah, all of the big grants, and then a lot of the small ones, they already turned in. I mean, we turned in for no less than 12 last.
Chief,
Ma'am?
with the annexations and everything, there's been a lot of talk in the community and that means that we're not meeting the requirements for the amount of fire department people that we should have on staff.
Mhm.
Just so that the public hears it, we are still in compliance with all of that. With
Oh,
the
no, ma'am.
stuff.
No, ma'am, we've never been in compliance with that. Not since this fire department has been, volunteer, days, combination. No, ma'am. We're not in compliance with how many firemen we should have on duty. But that is not your problem or anything we can do anything about that.
I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
But your quality of service is not dropping because of that, yeah.
No.
I want that on the record,
Well,
'cause
what we have.
I hear y'all screaming by heading out towards 459 area.
Yeah, I mean, if
so-
you noticed, you've heard them in the background.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So. Good.
Really, any questions on this, we probably ought to direct to Chief. I'll try to answer if you guys have anything.
I'm appreciative of this cooperation while we try to get through this.
And all right. Would you like me to move on?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Inspections stayed relatively flat again. This is another area where there has been a position requested that we will reevaluate, again, at the same time that we reevaluate everything in March. Hopefully, we'll be able to, again, hopefully, the trends will show us that we're able to provide some help. We did the large increase in, sorry. I'll take that back. It wasn't a large increase. I was thinking of Thinking of a different department, these numbers are starting to blur together a bit. Any questions on inspections?
What's the position that's been requested?
An additional inspector.
So in my world, there are administrative functions that don't necessarily generate revenue that are necessary. In this case, this is one that we should look at the ROI on to see if they can fund themselves by the revenue that they generate.
So I agree, and I think that's a conversation absolutely to have in March. I do believe that the immediate ROI would be probably pretty good in terms of being able to generate licenses and permits. And I think that you'd see a spike for the first couple of months, and then it would level out. And then, so while we may get a full ROI on that position in year one, I don't know if we get a full ROI on that going.
In year two.
Correct. So, but those are all very good things to take into account because that is a position that would potentially generate additional revenue.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Library. Again, library stayed relatively flat. Dan, he took a 5% reduction. The majority of that coming from library materials, cutting back the amount of new books that we purchase. Also, to let you know, there is a part-time position in the library that we've also paused at this time. Again, that's another one that will go back in front of the council when we do a mid-year review in March. All right. Parks and Rec. This was one of the ones that had, this is the one the department I was thinking of with the fleet management that had the 91,000 and new trucks last year that we did not have this year. 6% increase. Again, there's not any one item that we can point to that contributed. There's a lot of little cuts here and there. This is one department that, should we get tight, there'll be access to. We could potentially use some of the Parks and Rec impact fees to assist with some of our park repairs to ease up the burden on the general fund.
Just for my own thought, anything in the bond for parks that can assist in improvements and that are affected by the event.
So no, the bond that we have sitting there with 23.5 has to be used for capital. It can't be used for operating expenses or general, like fixing the slide at Joe Tucker.
Right.
Now, if we do a complete park renovation at the sports complex, at the existing sports complex, the bond can be used for that.
I was thinking like the soccer field or, those type of things. I wasn't sure.
In terms of maintenance,
No.
turfing?
Yeah,
Yes,
turfing.
absolutely.
Okay.
And this has been, the handbook, the new building, those have been my priorities the first 3 months. Once we're able to button this up, then the Parks and Rec and the new fields and how we're going to apply those bonds is going to rise to the top. And I'll be coming back to you guys hopefully within the next month, 6 weeks, with some ideas that we can present to the community on the best way to get the most bang for our buck with the 23.5 million that we have left.
Okay.
Are y'all good for me to move on? Okay. Police Department. Sorry. Okay. I did not update the police department spreadsheet. It just jumped out at me. The 4304 has got the SROs still in it in the payroll, whereas I backed them out on the data sheet So that's not a real apples to apples. The 4,304 prior year with 3.9 current year budget. If you look at the summary sheet, you'll see the real change from 3.9 to 3.9 with, I mean, it stayed completely flat for the most part. So apologies on that, but everything else on that sheet is good except for the 300 for the SROs. Again, Chief Wood suspended his additional officers. I will tell you that the cost of a new officer is much higher than the cost of a new anyone else. So Chief Wood's tabling those for the time being did create substantial savings between the actual employee costs and the outfitting costs that go along with each employee. Any questions for myself or Chief Wood?
Is overtime calculated?
Yes, overtime is in there. Okay. Public Works. Again, they bought a couple of trucks last year that they didn't have this year. If you take that out, they had a slight increase over last year, just inflation. But everything else remained pretty flat. I will also say, at the beginning of this process, Jason asked that it would be ideal to add someone, although it was not absolutely necessary. And he's agreed to not even revisit that one until fiscal year 27.
How many employees do we have in public works?
Is it 8, Jason?
We have 7 full-time, 2 part-time.
7.
Right, so was that based on Helena before the annexation?
I don't believe Jason, we added anybody since the annexation? He said no. We have not had a personnel ad.
No.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily want to have a kind of open dialogue with someone under your authority, but I would like to know maybe what that looks like with the additional square miles being added to the city limits and how that pushes our public works, just like fire and police. How does that push them out to maintain our right of ways?
Okay.
Because assuming that he says that he needs one today, do we need to look at more for FY27?
Okay.
If I recall, before I was on council and we're just here as a citizen listening to the budget meetings, Jason, did you say you added 100 and something miles of road?
No, it wasn't quite.
How much was it you thought?
I want to say it was 63 maybe.
63 miles that he's now responsible for and 0 hires.
Right.
So that's concerning to me too.
I've got a note on that, and I will get you guys something. I know this is a lot to soak in, and I know that this was given to you guys a little over 24 hours ago, and it's a lot to digest. So I do understand if council needs a little bit more time to digest before making a motion to pass this budget this evening. The one thing that is in the budget that I would ask for y'all to consider this evening is there's 4 employees that are well below market in the city that need to be brought to where they should be. In many cases, they've been performing a job for several years without the relative compensation or title. Those equate to about between 55 and 60,000 of additional payroll to make across 4 roles. I would ask that if you guys do elect to not bring this to a vote tonight, which again is perfectly understandable, that we, number one, have a special called meeting next week to get this passed as quickly as possible, if you guys are comfortable with it next week. But I would ask that you consider potentially passing that, the market adjustment, just the market adjustment this evening, so that we can reflect those in the next payroll.
We have two items to discuss here. How do we feel about voting on the budget tonight or setting a special session next week, special call meeting next week? Secondly, to vote on those 4 employees, do we need to add, we need to revise the agenda and print it before this meeting at 6 o'clock in
I would be inclined to add the adjustments for pay to the agenda tonight, because that affects people's livelihood. I don't know that I need a lot more answers on the budget before I vote on it either. So I think the mayor's done a great job of whittling it down with what he has to work with. So,
How many hours have you spent on this?
You don't want to know.
Yeah. Well, I'm like Dennis. I think we've got to move forward on this budget. I think you whittled it down as far as you can. You said we'll get updates so we can always make adjustments and such like that.
And I do believe that this will be, especially this first year, as I continue to learn more, as we continue to monitor, I do believe that there will be adjustments that we make, hopefully the positive, but I'm sure there'll be some bumps the other way too over this year.
And I feel comfortable knowing that you're going to keep us and everybody, like we all promised, informed so that everybody knows where we're at. No blind corners.
That's the game plan.
I still plan on trust but verify. I've been-
I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no, I agree.
I like
agree.
trust but verify.
Councilman Daniels?
Good. I just want you to honor this commitment, and I may not have it in the best of words, but those are boards and committees that we have. There is not parity amongst how they're budgeted. Number two, there is no documentation that supports they do what they've said they're going to do. And again, to pull that forward from our discussions from November to now, we talked about aligning what these boards do to some type of metric so we can hold them accountable. So whether the dependence of our boards go to a partnership with nonprofits, less dependent on the city, we still should be measuring the results we get from them versus our comfort level on how they're funded.
I 100% agree with that. And I think it was said in the November, one of our first meetings, that once this ordinance for the boards passes and we formalize the liaisons, because right now it's acting liaison, that one of the things that I wanted each liaison to do is go to their representative boards, come back with not the budget number, but a breakdown of what the budget is going to be used for. And what is their mission? What are they trying to accomplish with those funds? In terms of parity across boards, I don't think that we'll ever get there because some boards and what they do are going to need more money, more funding than others. But I think that from an accountability standpoint, that is absolutely necessary to make sure that the funds that they're being allocated are being used in the manner that one, serves the community, and two, accomplishes the mission of that board.
Yeah, but for me, it's just semantics. Parity doesn't mean equal.
Okay.
Right. So again, I just think, and I don't have to speak to the specific book or where it comes from, but where a man's treasure is where his heart is. So I'll just lay that there, but I'm good.
Okay.
So,
Councilwoman Hammond?
I have one question to my fellow council people. Has any of you had a chance to listen to any of the department heads yourself about the budget? Any feedback that you've gotten, reached out to them? Have we had time to do that?
They report to the mayor.
Yeah. I've trusted the mayor with his conversations on that.
he's in the room with them saying they're good with it, so I'm gonna trust that they're good with it.
I'm just asking, you know. I ran on listening, you know, and I can't tell them all if I'm gonna listen. So if they've got something to say, I want to give them the opportunity to let them listen.
All right.
Thank you for your work.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
thank you,
problem.
Mayor
Thank you
Rose.
guys for your patience.
I would like to add this to agenda for tonight,
Okay.
consideration.
Does a new agenda, I guess that's a question for Madam Clerk and Attorney.
Yeah.
What? I'll double check that in.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yeah, there's an issue with the formula on the Parks and Rec
Right.
page. But let me run a tape on it real quick.
Let me just, if you're getting ready to adjourn the work session, I guess structurally, we would be passing the budget from an operational standpoint. The itemization of the line items can be ongoing work, but the summary page is essentially what we would be approving tonight.
Correct.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, the summary
Right.
page is what you're approving tonight. And the line items, we will monitor those. You'll be getting the detail of all of it, but I would imagine you're looking at it by department. I'll have to look into that.
Okay.
I footed the budget figure foots at 1481. I'm not sure what's going on with that. There's been a lot of
Yes.
versions.
Well, I think if somebody, I just,
Yeah, but
that way
thank
when
you
you
for-
post it out.
Yeah.
It's a big question of, I just want to
And-
make sure there's no questions.
Do we need to reprint another agenda to add the vote, or can we just manually add that?
Will amend.
Okay.
That's it.
About, we're about a 3-minute, get ourselves situated.
That's the OCD.
I'll need to make sure you don't have the right.
You got it. Yeah, that's all yours.
So you've already got an agenda with it.
No.
With the resolution.
Okay, you got the resolution. Okay.
Yes. because you can- Yeah.
Okay.
Are we done?
Well, we've got confirmation of our next meeting, which is February 9th, 2026, 5 PM work session, 6 PM city council meeting. And seeing, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, this work session is adjourned. What time do we want to?
6:01,
5 minutes.
6:06.
Give me 6, man.
Yes, sir. Write your name down for me, so I spell it right. You? Brooke, if you will sign those three for me and pass them down to Andy. That way those are done.
Then that way the mayor can come over and anything else.
And then if one of y'all will just make a motion to add resolution. Do you want me to write it on your?
Yeah, where should we do that?
You want to do it? Well, all we have are those, right? All we have is this. So if you want to do it after those, and before public comment, I think that would be fine.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, that's I got stacked with my budget. Sorry about that. And then,
Yeah, I would just add it after things in the.
Trying to determine where you want it to be.
yeah,
And if you want to write it down, it's going to be resolution.
You need something?
2026. FY 26.
Hey, Max.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
determine where you
Say that again.
I'm just gonna edit it again.
What happened?
Somebody needs to make a motion to amend the agenda, probably.
Hey, Alex. Alex.
That's you.
Yes.
You gotta do that. That's you, Jim.
I was like,
It don't matter, just spell it the way it sounds. Everybody just calls him Sweeney anyway.
Okay.
Y'all turn your arms.
What, your signage? I put it down there.
for public speaking?
Yeah.
Okay. We were just making people were aware that it was public speaking because there's a lot of there. Yes, sir.
How do you have?
What do you mean? He said it's already incorporated in that total. So that's what I made clarification that I had the right total number. And if y'all want to read this, you can. But that number includes those four raises.
But just in terms of the agenda items to amend, I know one is
You won't need to for it because it's.
the agenda.
Oh yeah. Just motion to add this, and that would cover the raises and yes. But yeah, if one of y'all want to read this, you can. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you can.
I got you.
Yes. Yeah, we got a couple of them.
He asked me for it.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. I know.
You're fine.
Okay, I'd like to call this January 26, 2026 meeting of the Helena City Council to order. We'll begin with our invocation, and Councilwoman Kathy Hammond will lead that.
Please bow your heads. Dear Jesus, thank you for being with us this evening and guiding us with our tongues and our minds, that we say the right things and that we keep in mind that we are here to serve Helena and its people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Next is our Pledge of Allegiance. Caden Swinford, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Next, council roll call. Madam Clerk.
McDaniel.
Here.
Dodson.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Hammond.
Here.
Next is the presentation of minutes from December 22nd, 2025 meeting. We've received those and reviewed those. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Let's take a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Next is revenue report and AP bill payment. We've received and reviewed those. Any questions, comments on those?
No, sir.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next is our municipal operations report from Mayor Billy Rosner.
Good evening, council. I know we've been in here a little while, so I'm going to keep this one brief tonight. First, I want to thank our public works crew for getting out last night and getting sand on the roads. We dodged a bit of a bullet, but they were out till about 9:30, 10 o'clock putting sand on the roads where we did have standing water. Also want to congratulate Chief Wood with the participation he had for the Polar Plunge Challenge to benefit the Special Olympics. I think we had 11 officers. Is that right, Mike? Okay, 11 officers that all participated. And if you saw the photos on Facebook, I think they were all having a good time and better last weekend than this past weekend. Registration for spring sports officially wrapped up this past Sunday. We had 640 youth athletes sign up. We know that the weather was a factor with the cold, so let our Parks and Rec department know if there's a few stragglers we need to get in, we can accommodate those. At the library, we've got Wednesday, February 4th, we've got a knit, stitch, and chat at 10:30 a.m. And then also February 7th is National Take Your Child to the Library Day from 10 to 2. So I know Dan would love to see all y'all come out for those events. And then finally, I'm going to be hosting the first Coffee with the Community on Saturday, February 28th here in Council Chambers from 9 to 11. So this is an opportunity. There's not an agenda. Just come have a cup of coffee. We can visit, talk about any issues that are important to y'all. And again, that's February 28th from 9 to 11. That's all I've got. Council, you guys have any questions? Anything else? All right. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, Councilman.
if you will allow, I'd like to motion to amend the agenda by adding a resolution to adopt the FY26 general operating budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Hammond,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Dodson,
Yes.
McDaniels.
Yes.
All right, and we will move that item to just prior to period for public comment. Next on our agenda is recognition of Adeline Dewey from Helena High School wrestling team. And we also have recognition from Gabby Luna. Councilman Healy's going down to the floor for those recognitions.
All right. One of the things that I really, truly like to do up here as a city council member is, get a hold of our students and find out some of the greatest accomplishments that we have for the young people that represent the city. And I got 3 young ladies. 2 of them were presented to me by their coaches. Young ladies that are involved in a sport that is dominated by males. So it was really incredible for me to get that notification, that write-up for them, and be able to bring them here tonight to recognize these 2 outstanding athletes. And I will start, and she knows she has to dance and sing up here, is Miss Adeline Dewey. All right, this recognition is whereas Adeline Dewey, a 9th grade student at Helena High School, has made history as a female wrestler with the Helena City Schools by stepping into a sport traditionally underrepresented by young women. And whereas Adeline was introduced to the sport of wrestling at a young age through her father, who served as a wrestling referee and frequently traveled to tournaments, allowing her to experience the sport firsthand. And whereas through attending these tournaments, Adeline developed an appreciation for the discipline, athleticism, and competitiveness of wrestling, which inspired her desire to participate in the sport herself. And whereas in addition to the encouragement and support of her father, Coach Saunders, is that Saunders? Okay. Thank you. encourage Adam to take the initiative to reach out to the Helena High School administration to explore the possibility of starting a girls wrestling team. And whereas the sport of wrestling builds self-confidence, resilience, discipline, and perseverance, while encouraging young women to take risks, push beyond perceived limitations, and develop leadership skills. And whereas Adeline hopes her participation will inspire additional young ladies to step forward, get involved in the sport of wrestling, and continue growing opportunities for female athletes at other Helena area schools. And now therefore be it resolved that the city of Helena hereby recognizes and commends Adeline Dewey for her historic accomplishment and applauds her for representing Helena High School with pride, courage, and leadership on this 26th day of January 2026. All right, next we have Miss Gabby Luna. Fun to do this one because Gabby is best friends with my daughter, so it was real entertaining. So this recognition is whereas Gabby Luna, an 8th grade student at Helena Middle School, has made history as a female wrestler within Helena schools, city schools, by stepping into a sport traditionally underrepresented by young women. And Gabby was introduced to wrestling by her brother-in-law, whose passion and skill in the sport inspired her. And she was encouraged to participate by both him and her sister, whose support gave her the confidence to try something new. And whereas Gabby's participation in wrestling reflects courage, determination, and the willingness to challenge expectations while pursuing personal growth and athletic excellence. And whereas the sport of wrestling builds self-confidence, resilience, and discipline, and perseverance by encouraging young women to take risks, push beyond perceived limitations, and develop leadership skills. And Gabby's commitment to wrestling serves as an inspiration to other students, demonstrating that success comes from dedication, hard work, and believing in oneself. And whereas through her involvement in wrestling, Gabby helps create a greater awareness and opportunities for female athletes within Helena area schools and encourages other young ladies to step forward and participate in sport. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the city of Helena hereby recognizes and commends Gabby Luna and her dedication, trailblazing spirit, and leadership, and applauds her for representing Helena Middle School with pride, courage, and determination on the 26th day of January 2026. We're going to get the wrestling team up here, Miss Gabby. They're all going to come up and get a big old photo with you. The whole shooting match. If you don't mind helping out with this one. Yeah. Yeah, towards me over here. I also want to thank the coaches for bringing the rest of the team here for these ladies. That was that's very very commendable. All right, everybody smile pretty. Got it. Got it. Whoop. All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you again, gentlemen, for coming. Ladies, much appreciated. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
And up next, Councilman Healy will retain the floor for recognition of Macy Neff, outstanding young author from Helena.
This one was presented to me a week ago when I was up at the school with with my daughter, and I was floored when the administration told me about what she's accomplished. And so this is in recognition of Macy Neff, who is an outstanding young author who has demonstrated exceptional creativity, dedication, and initiative as a self-published writer of 2 realistic fiction novels. And whereas Macy authored her first book, Who's to Tell Me What to Do, Mr. Man, at the age of 11, and followed it with her second book 9 years later at the age of 12. Showcasing remarkable talent and perseverance, which shows that age should never be a barrier to achieving goals. And whereas Macy is currently a 6th grade student at Helena Middle School, where she balances academic responsibilities with her passion for writing and storytelling. Macy discovered her love for writing early in life, inspired by the power of words and stories to shape identity, understanding, and emotional expression. And whereas Macy independently completed near all aspects of the self-publishing process, including writing, formatting, paperwork, and cover design, gaining valuable skills in communication, responsibility, and creative expression. And whereas Macy recognizes the deep impact of language and storytelling, using her writing to help others explore emotions, build self-awareness, and feel empowered to pursue their own goals. Macy plans to continue writing in the future, driven by a lifelong passion for storytelling and a desire to inspire others through her work. Now therefore be it resolved by Mayor Billy Rosen and the Helena City Council, who hereby recognize and honor Macy Neff for her accomplishment on the 26th day of January, 2026. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Councilman Healy, and congratulations to our athletes and author representing our community. Next item on the agenda is actually not on your printed agenda, but this is the item that we added just a few minutes ago. This is to approve or deny our resolution 0126-2026 FY26 municipal budget. We discussed this in our work session. Our mayor has been working on this budget since he took office, or actually probably before he took office. The previous council extended the term for us to take it under our review and approval once we took office. So we're finally to a point where we have reviewed it. The mayor has shared it with us. We reviewed it. We had a productive work session here before this meeting commenced. And we decided to go ahead and put it on the agenda for approval or denial tonight. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve or deny this budget.
So the matter is before us. I'll move it in second and whatever's next.
Okay.
So move.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call vote.
No.
Okay, public comment. Okay, sorry. We'll entertain public comment on this FY 2026 budget, resolution 0126-2026. Any comment from the public? Seeing none, I'll entertain comment here on council.
I'm good. We want to thank the mayor for the hard work, for sure. Digging into this, and department heads for doing what they had to do. I really do appreciate it.
I get just one comment. I would encourage y'all.
You state your name, please.
I'm sorry, Matt Herndon.
We know you.
I would encourage y'all to put it off when we can do a special session for it, just so y'all have plenty of time to scrutinize it. Not saying that Billy hadn't done a wonderful job with it, but just additional time to scrutinize it and ask questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Any additional public comment? And no council comment. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion on resolution 0126-2026 FY26 budget.
Debbie,
We've already done the motion. We're
You
just voting
just,
on the vote.
Okay, so a motion, so we will now take a roll call vote to approve Resolution 01262026, FY26 budget.
Hammond,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Dodson,
Yes.
McDaniels.
yes.
Resolution passes. We now have a FY26 budget, municipal budget. Next item on our agenda is period for public comment. I know we have a couple of candidates here. And okay. We have several that speak in public comment session tonight. We'll begin with, I think it's Christopher Bayek. Christopher Buck.
Yes, please.
And please state your name and address.
I'm Christopher Buck from 9119 Brookline Lane. I just have a prepared statement. Tonight, I'm here to raise concerns about Flock Safety's roadside cameras and to make a specific request to council. I'd like to start by making it clear why any resident should care about these cameras, and it's because they've recorded you. If you pass the Hillsborough neighborhood, these cameras have recorded you and your vehicle every time you've passed by. And if you passed Helena High School coming along Colmont, these cameras have recorded you and your vehicle every time you've passed by. And if you drive up or down Highway 31, these cameras have recorded you about every mile or so every time you've passed by one. And that information has been recorded and stored in time order. I want to make it clear that this is materially different than your typical traffic or speed camera. A speed camera takes a snapshot of a mistake, like speeding, but a flock camera builds a history of your movements. And with that information, someone with access to this system can tell exactly which cameras you've passed on any day. And by organizing that, they can tell which cameras you typically pass and on which days. Now that you know why it concerns you, here's why you should actually be concerned. And it's because that information can be misused, and it has been misused. In Menasha, Wisconsin, a police officer was ordered to stand trial for allegedly using a flock license plate recognition system, or a flock camera, to track his ex-girlfriend. The complaint says he attempted to use it multiple times to monitor her vehicle and whereabouts. In Sedgwick, Kansas, it was reported that the Sedgwick police chief used flock safety devices to track his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend's vehicles 228 times over several months, and he admitted to that misuse. There are other documented examples of misuse regarding protests, abortion, and immigration, but I'd like to avoid partisanship here. But the issue is clear. If you're of personal interest to someone with access to this system, you're at risk. Or you might think you don't matter, that you're too boring to track, or you have nothing to hide. But boring is a moving target, and the definition of suspicious changes over time, and data systems outlive the people who set them up. The data you generate today will still exist when legal and political lines shift, and something unremarkable today could make you a target of suspicion tomorrow. The Fourth Amendment exists because the government shouldn't track where you go without cause. Outsourcing that to a private company doesn't change the principle. It just removes accountability to voters. So specifically, I'm requesting that council direct staff to prepare and publish a public report on all contracts and agreements with flock safety, and that any future renewals be brought to a public vote. At minimum, I think residents deserve basic information about a surveillance system collecting data on all of us. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Buck.
If he may, Mr. President, I would ask that the chief clarify our policy if you got a second. Please.
You know, flock cameras are governed by the same thing that NCIC is governed by. As he mentioned, people use it illegally, they will prosecute. This is not a science or some kind of hidden thing we're tracking. This is a tool used by law enforcement, just as NCIC or CJIS to run someone's tag as we come behind you on a traffic stop. There's no difference in this.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, we have Matt Herndon. Please state your name and address and please.
Matt Herndon, 277 Appleford Road. As y'all know, I was a quiet dissident of the previous administration. And with that, I noticed the city hall has a plaque up commemorating the previous mayor and a couple of the council members. I would request and ask that y'all put it on the agenda that plaque be replaced. I will have a formal proposal in y'all's email inbox by the end of the week on how I propose this happen. But I would like for a high school, a teacher, perhaps in their classrooms to give the assignment of commemorating or what am I saying? Commemorating to the actual constituents of Helena instead of to a mayor that forced this upon all of us and the tax increase that came along with it. But a winner, a competition, the best creative writing wins. And of course, I know budget money is tight right now, so I would not allow any expense to be passed on to the city. I would do all of the fundraising for it. And if I can't raise the funds, then it's dead. So I request that to be put on next meeting's agenda. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Herndon. Appreciate it. Next, we have Ben Fuller.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All those that are in attendance here this evening, I'm happy to be here with you this evening. My name is Ben Fuller. I am the Chief Deputy District Attorney for the Shelby County District Attorney's Office. And I have the distinct privilege of running for the newly created district judge seat that we have here in the county. This is the first time since 1990 that we have added a district judge seat here in Shelby County. If you're keeping track, that's a long time and a whole lot of citizens that we have added to this county since we last had a district judge added. It's something like 136,000 people that we have added to this county since the last time that we have added a district judge seat. It is so important that we pick the right person to fill this role. I have been a career prosecutor, save a brief time that I worked in the corporate world. Other than that, I have spent my career in the courtroom and prosecuting on behalf of Shelby County. I have handled everything there is to handle, from misdemeanor traffic cases up to capital murder cases. I've done it all. I've prosecuted it all. And I think it is important that we get somebody in that role that has that experience. The district court, among a lot of things that it's responsible for, is primarily responsible for every criminal offense that occurs in Shelby County. There are the municipal courts. Y'all have your own municipal court here in Helena that prosecutes your misdemeanor offenses. But outside of that, every single criminal case that occurs in Shelby County flows through our district court. They all start there. It is so important that we have someone in that role that knows criminal law backwards and forwards. And I know that I am that person. I know what it's like to be out on scene with officers. I know the chaos of these scenes, and I know how difficult of a job it is for them to do it right and do it right the first time and the only time. I know what it's like to receive those phone calls in the middle of the night saying, we've had a shooting, we've had a killing, we need your help, we need search warrants, we need to wake up a judge. I know what it's like to process those things in real time. Most importantly, I know what it's like to go into a courtroom knowing that I have got to argue to keep a bad guy behind bars and wondering if the judge is going to appreciate just what a serious undertaking we're doing that day. I know what that's like. I know the stress that puts on people, and I think that we need a judge that knows exactly what they're doing when they get in that role, because we can't afford anything else in that role. I hope to serve you, the citizens of Shelby County, with honor, with justice, not to be a rubber stamp. I think Chief Wood will tell you I'm not a rubber stamp to law enforcement. I'm glad to divine what's correct and what's right and what's justice and to do just that. But I'm also proud to be a part of keeping Shelby County safe. I'm proud of that legacy. I'm proud of that career that I've had. And I want to continue that as the next judge at District Court in Shelby County. Pray for your prayers and your guidance, your wisdom, your thoughts as I go through this process. And I would ask for each and every one of you for your vote come May 19th to be your next district judge here in Shelby County. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Next, we have Joel Dixon.
Well, I'll say first, I wish I had signed up before the guy that does public speaking for a living. And that was great. My name is Joel Dixon. I am currently the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources for Shelby County Schools. But most of the time when people ask me what I do, I tell them I'm an English teacher. I was an English teacher in the classroom for 10 years. I was a building assistant principal and principal for 10 years at a couple of different schools in Shelby County. I am the son of a 30-year Marine, and we moved all over all the time. So when my wife and I got the opportunity to work in Shelby County, we put roots down here 18 years ago, and we live in Columbiana. I should have said my address is 411 North Main Street, Columbiana. We put roots down here, and we've been here. We've raised our children here. We're committed to this place and this school system. As I said, I've had those roles as a classroom teacher. I've had that role as a building principal. For the last 8 years, I've worked at the central office, and the last 5, I've been in the assistant superintendent seat and been a part of Dr. Brooks' senior leadership team. That has been a journey, and I've learned a lot along the way. And so with Dr. Brooks' announcement that he's not going to seek re-election, after a tremendous amount of prayer and consideration and conversation with my family, I am running for superintendent. Because Shelby County is an amazing place. And if you've lived here your whole life, I don't know that you appreciate what an amazing place it is. It's a great place, and we have great schools, evidenced by these guys back here and these ladies. We do great things in this school system, and I want to do my part to help continue that. So I'm going to hang around for the rest of the meeting. Would be happy to talk to anybody that has questions or would like to just get to know me a little bit better. And again, I hope to earn your vote come May 19th for the Republican primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Next, we have Dennis and Kathy Ricketson.
I'm Dennis Rickardson, and my wife Kathy. We live in Deering Downs, 1484 Secretariat, and we have 4 concerns that we'd like to bring to your attention. We've been a longtime resident of that area. So one big issue we have as seniors is the cost of recycle and garbage pickup for us. I know it's gone up quite a bit in the last couple of years. If there's anything that can be done to help us reduce that cost, or at least for seniors that don't use it as often as some folks that have big families. The second is cars that are parked on the street on Secretariat for a long, long time. I know there must be a city ordinance for that. I don't know what our recourse is. And the other is big companies coming in and buying houses and putting them up for rent. Is there anything that can help slow down that process? And the other is a concern about fencing. Is there some type of ordinance on fencing for people's property lines? Those are my concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Ricketson.
Okay.
I've made notes, and we'll take a look into these items.
Okay. And somebody can get back to us with the answers. Or... Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jerry Ray.
Yes, I'm Jerry Ray, 5101 Shamrock Drive. I'd like to bring to attention to the council and the appropriate department heads. Last week, somebody came in what I call a commercial building, put it in behind their house. The building is 25 by 40. That's not a storage shed. Y'all, the council needs to pass a law that you cannot put a building that big behind your house. Just because we don't have a HOA, we should still be respected and our property values taken care of. and whoever is going to enforce that not being a commercial enterprise behind that house, I hope they stay on top of it and don't let it become a auto repair behind that house. Because I don't have enough junk to fill up a 25 by 40, and I've been here 40 years. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. That concludes public comments. Next item is council comments, and tonight I'll start with Councilwoman Hammond.
Good evening. Thank you for being here this evening on this cold night. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Helena Kiwanis. They did a beautification project on the playground at Joteca Park. I understand that Alex Miller brought in some equipment and helped them make the job easier. The mulch for around the playgrounds was at cost from Helena Hardware. So just a shout out to them, and they're giving back to the community. We need all that we can get with our budget the way it is right now. So we like those kind of projects. And thank you again. Just stay warm.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hammond. Next will be Councilman Dennis Wilson.
I want to piggyback off what Kathy said. Alex has done a great job serving his community. He's so plugged in. He ran for office. He was unsuccessful. He hasn't backed off a single step. He continues to serve his community. He volunteers his time with the wrestling team, which my son is a member of. And I think that we could use a lot more Alex Millers in this town. So I really appreciate that. I'd like to commend the two young ladies as well. One of them I've known for quite a while. She's like a member of our family, especially during the summertime. Gabby, she's a tremendous young lady, very proud of her. And with that, I just hope all of us can stay warm for a few days, and it'll be summer again by Thursday, probably. So,
Thank you, Councilman Wilson. Next, Councilman Andy Healy.
Yes, I want to thank the coaches for bringing out these two exceptional ladies in the school. I need to get a hold of the front desk and tell them thank you for introducing me to Miss Macy. I was impressed. I jumped on this the minute I heard about it because I think it's just a huge accomplishment for all three of you in your own different ways. So I can't thank you. I can't thank the young men that came and supported the two young ladies on the wrestling team. That means a lot, and it shows the character of our students in this city. And the family for Macy, thank y'all so much for working with me. It was sweet to meet y'all, and it was nice to have the write-up. And, you know, Gabby's been a part of our family too. I think I charge her rent half the time. But she's a sweetheart. And I got the pleasure of meeting Macy and Miss Adeline. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Councilman Healy, and Councilman McDaniels.
I guess, ladies and gentlemen, you have before you now the FY26 budget for the city of Helena. It may not be the best budget, but given the circumstances that we currently face, it is the best budget that our mayor has put together and this council has approved. We ask that, you know, over the course of this time that you hold us accountable, that we use resources wisely, and that future years will be better than the current year. Also, I would like to ask, Mayor, that as citizens come before us with concerns, if you could pull those concerns forward at the subsequent meeting, although you may follow up with them immediately, but when you give your mayor's report and updates, if you could include, as possible, the updates from the concerns that citizens bring to us. At the end of the day, that falls into day-to-day, and I think if we're given the latitude to spend time over in the affairs of day-to-day, we cross the line as legislators. Thank you all for being here, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilman McDaniels, and that leaves me to close us out. I'd like to express my appreciation to Mayor Rosner for everything he did, everything he put into this budget. We finally got into it, and we were, you know, behind a little bit because of, you know, we're all new except for Andy, who had, I think, 10 months coming into this term. So we had to get caught up on it, and the mayor had to go through a lot to get everything caught up to where he could present it to us. And I'm glad that we finally got that in place now, and it's, we've got something to work with and get our city back to a good financial place. Also, congratulations to the two athletes and to the author who for their accomplishments. It's a great way to represent our community, and we're very proud of y'all. That's all I have to say tonight, and this meeting is adjourned.
So this was, but Andy said the same thing about his kids. And I didn't say a word. I understand what